Detective Barros testified today, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is probably the most valuable testimony that we're going to hear. The dog bite testimony was fantastic too. But I want to bask for a moment in the perfect contrast that Detective Barros gave us. Before I get into the taillight shit, I want to talk about the way he testified. These jurors have watched cop after cop after cop be combative, have attitude, refuse to answer questions in any kind of straightforward way when being questioned by Karen Reed's team. And what have they all had in common? Boston PD or Canton PD with relationships with each other. This one's brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, boyfriends, aunts, cousin, uncle, brother, motherfucker. Barros is not that. He's not a Boston cop and he's not a Canton cop. And he's not related to any of these people. He is a Dighton cop. And it's almost like his testimony shows you how a cop can answer questions when they're not lying, when they're not participating in a cover-up, when they're not personally interested and vested in how this plays out. You don't have to be obstructionist when you don't have a reason to lie. And that's what he showed us. He created the contrast necessary for these jurors to have the right context to really put their finger on how interested and related and interrelated all of those other players have been. It will not be lost on them that he is the only one who is not part of this little family. So that's number one. Number two, the one guy who is setting himself, the one cop who is setting himself apart as being the only honest one, also happens to be the cop who served the search warrant in Dighton for the Lexus SUV. That Lexus SUV was at Karen's mom's or parents' house. And so it has to be a local department that serves the warrant. It's their jurisdiction. And here's the thing about serving a warrant on a vehicle, it has to be transported. When it's your job to do that, it's your job to also log the condition of the vehicle for chain of custody reasons, for preservation of evidence reasons. Because you all, like, on top of creating the contrast to be able to determine whether or not there was an issue with the chain of custody, you also want to preserve the evidence in case, I don't know, the car while it's being towed gets like disconnected from the hitch and goes flying off of the highway. You want to preserve the evidence. So it's actually very important. Nobody else's testimony about what that taillight looked like matters now, because this guy, it was actually his job to memorialize what that taillight looked like. It doesn't matter that this person remembers that it was completely busted out. It doesn't matter that this person shouted, I don't want you driving with that broken taillight. None of this other stuff matters. Only his testimony matters, because he said that it was cracked. Listen, usually they take photos, but here we are. We have to take his memorialization for the record. He said cracked. I'd have to be on crack to say that that is cracked. If he meant completely busted out, he would have written completely busted out. If he meant shattered, he would have said shattered. This is clean gone. That's not cracked. But he said cracked. And this year, he remembers that what he said is what he meant. It did not look like this. And he said that this time. It didn't look like this. So what does that mean? That means that this evidence, this vehicle, that was involved in a homicide investigation was tampered with. This evidence was tampered with. So now, if you were giving those cops the benefit of the doubt, and you don't know what happened in that Sally Port footage, and you're okay with the fact that it was inverted, I'm sure it was an honest mistake. But now, that inversion, plus the skipping, the missing footage from it, and the fact that they were huddled by it for such a long time, we're guessing, considering there's missing fucking footage, it starts to seem a little bit more suspicious. Why are all of these drunks that were just out partying now fucking around evidence in the Sally Port? And it went from having a crack to being completely missing. If you had a doubt about a conspiracy, you don't have a doubt anymore. And the other thing is that it taints all of the rest of the evidence for the jury. If they got together to do this, what else? What else? This is the most damning. Barros is a good cop.